So
Yeah.
Jeff is as a longtime businessman, and what is it? I wanted to get him on the all truth disclaimer. He's also one of our sponsors on the Michigan Marijuana Report. But what I was intrigued by is, as I've gotten to know him, he has all these other businesses going on, but he chose to get into the cannabis testing labs, starting with Wisconsin. I'm not sure what the Wisconsin original connection was. What was that all about?
The lab in Wisconsin was in Madison, Wisconsin, is principally designed to test hemp for THC compliance and then other safety tests as well. And that started a few years ago, actually before my introduction. Our principal scientist, Josh Smith, was somebody reached out to him, a colleague, and asked him to review some data that they had on their hemp crop. And what you get when you do testing through a lab is something called a COA, or a certificate of analysis in the industry. And Josh, in reviewing it, saw some interesting oddities and things that he didn't understand, did a little bit of research, and he said there's a lot of room for improvement in this industry. And so that led Josh, through safety concerns, particularly with an eye towards the microbial side, to get involved and open a lab that would test hemp and also allow him to bring his microbiology background into the industry. Josh serves on two working groups in the AOAC and the ASTM, and so he actively provides recommendations and input on safety standards. So that lab started in Madison about around 2018. They've been up and running for since then, and I got involved with a colleague, a friend from college, and invested in that lab and started to learn more about it, and was quite fascinated with the business overall. And so that's how I got involved in the business in the first instance. Yeah,
because I know you're also you do real estate here in Ann Arbor. I've seen your truck pull up in front of my house, and you do home remodeling or sort of something along those lines, right? So
I have a few other businesses. Principally, I used to do information systems, particularly in the healthcare sector, serving Fortune 200 or small or larger companies, keep their healthcare costs down. I left the corporate world when I was 40, maybe just a little too antsy for it. Had already started getting involved in real estate properties, rental properties, with a business partner, and then another business partner came along and said, "Hey, I got a great idea," and it was for a mobile car cleaning, detailing outfit.
Oh, that's what it was, car cleaning.
Dealers.
Yeah, I knew. Yeah. I saw that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but those businesses are far less interesting, Mike, than this one.
Yeah. So you got exposed, as it were, to cannabis, or actually hemp testing in Wisconsin, and then a good friends of ours and company that you have now acquired, ABKO Labs out of Warren. I'd been working with them, for a couple of years before you came along, and then you decided you wanted to. I think it's a majority interest there. I'm not sure exactly how that's set up.
Yeah, I've been a Michigander all my life, and got interested in the economics of the green industry, as we call it in Michigan, via CannaCon, which was held down in Cobo Hall in Detroit, and started thinking more about the levers that we had with our Madison hemp testing operation and the equipment we had there. Long been fascinated by science, learned to run a gas chromatograph in college as a work study job at U of M. And so I thought, wow, this is interesting. I paid a little more attention to it and started chatting with a few friends, found I had a few colleagues that were already in the business, and was really, excited about the prospects. both in the size of the industry and the rapid growth of the industry. Then in addition to that, in the cannabis market, because it's still federally not legal, that all the product that's grown in Michigan has to be tested in Michigan. It needs to stay within the state. And so unlike hemp, which can be shipped across state lines, we had effectively a captive market in Michigan. And so I did a little bit of research on the number of labs operating at the time and determined that there was kind of a squeeze on lab services, and talked to my business partners about giving it a go in Michigan. So we were working to find space, and in that process, learning a bit more. And oddly, my lawyer that was recommended to me knew of Amy Brown, and her partner Kirk Olbrecht started ABKO Labs in Warren, kind of along similar lines. Her dad was a chemist, which a lot of the scientists in the industry are. But so she was interested in getting out or getting some help running the business, and we thought it was a natural partnership. And so instead of following through with plans to start fresh, we thought we would invest with Amy and join forces instead of adding another lab to the state, just to join forces and make a more formidable company.
And just recently, I think last month, you got your adult use. I'm not sure if it's a permit, a license, authorization, but now you can test for adult use cannabis too, right?
Yes, and that's real significant, Mike. The medical market has been shrinking over time, and something a lot of folks don't understand, that although the state controls the licenses for labs and growers, all of us start out at a local level for those communities that opt in, and we find space and work to get through all the hurdles of their local ordinances and set up our space. And then once you're set up or have a good plan, then you can apply to the state for a license. And so interestingly, Warren had stumbled a little bit, like a lot of communities, with something that was new to them on their legislative docket, and they didn't approve. They were gonna, and they stopped. Didn't approve adult use, and it finally took a couple of years to get that. The importance of that to us is that effectively because we were in Warren, there were plenty of growers growing adult use cannabis all around us and throughout the state, but we were unable to test that product. And that's the largest and fastest growing segment of the market.
Well, absolutely.
So that's real significant. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's only going to grow more. There's a lot of multi-state operators coming in over the last 6 or 8 weeks. I've written about 3 or 4 acquisitions and other players like Cresco Labs coming into the state, another big multi-state operator. We have the Canadians making a big push into Michigan. Canadians have been legal for, a number of years. And the only other state surrounding us that has legal is Illinois. Ohio and Indiana, I think they do medical, but I'm not sure, but certainly not adult use. So, it's an incredible opportunity. And I believe there's like 15 labs in the state, but considering the volume of the grows out there, I think everybody was really working really hard, right? So.
Yeah, it's a fascinating business sector. It's what wasn't apparent to me at first were the number of ancillary businesses that get pulled in. You start out with a lawyer, and then you find an accountant, and pretty quickly you start finding different professions, be they builders or suppliers that aren't directly in the cannabis industry get pulled in, and they recognize the rapid growth in the industry. And a lot of them have spun off and formed, specialty groups within their practices, or have branched out on their own and become specialists in this sector. And so, to me, it's fascinating that the rate of growth, and if you figure the multiplier effect in their with, I think cannabis is approaching $1 billion a year
Oh,
in
more than
Michigan.
that, actually. It's pushing
Yeah.
2 billion a year. And next year, according to MRA, they think it'll do 4 billion. So, I mean, certainly it's you're positioned in the right market at the right time, I believe.
Yeah, we're real excited about it. And then there's other things that, other aspects of the business that I've, become more acquainted with as I meet different people in the industry. A lot of places like Detroit and Pontiac. I've been introduced to several businessmen or entrepreneurs there that are expanding operations or starting out there, and it's fascinating to see, growing up in the Detroit area and seeing a lot of these old buildings being left, becoming derelict, and seeing some of them get rehabbed now for grow facilities or dispensaries. It's just fascinating. One guy bought out a liquor store because it was too close for him to have a dispensary. So he bought the liquor store out, and then he turned it into a education center. And he's now teaching young, in particular disadvantaged folks, how to do business and how to start their own grows, and gives them certificates when they're done with the program. And so he's kind of in effect creating his own clientele, or people that could grow or provide services to his businesses or even be competitors. So I find that's the social equity component and the rate of growth just fascinating.
Yeah, and I don't see any, because there's only been about 100 communities out of 1,800 in the state who have opted in. So incredible potential. I don't know. I mean, and what it's going to boil down to is the money. 16% of the gross goes to some taxing authority. And if we do $2 billion, that's $320 million in taxes. I think that will catch a few communities' attention, don't you?
I believe so. And I think that there's, and then aside of that, that's 16%, 6 of that is sales tax, I believe. So there's an extra 10% coming in, which should be robust with the level of growth that you mentioned. I always learn from talking to you, Mike, so I appreciate when you correct me on some of the numbers. But if you add that multiplier in, it's really can be an economic boon for a lot of towns. And I've seen some small towns really rally around it and have parades and festivals, and it really can provide a reason to stay in a small town, or an opportunity to really grow a business where you grew up, which is exciting for us, particularly in Michigan, which has had its ups and downs, as we know.
Yeah, Kalkaska immediately comes to mind. My mother was from Petoskey, so as a young person, I went up there a lot on Old 131, and it was just a sleepy little fishing village, and now it's Cannabis Central North. So who would have thunk it, right, Kalkaska? Anyway, we're running out of time in this segment, Jeff. So how do folks reach out to you? How do they find out more about ABKO Labs?
They can find ABKO Labs on Facebook and Instagram. You can email us at info@abkolabs.com. So any of those methods work. I think if you just Google us, you'll come across us pretty easily. And I believe we have a page on LinkedIn as well.
Sure. Sounds great. And certainly your turnaround time, I know from talking to Amy and Kirk, is very quick, right? Like 48 to 72 hours.
Yes. Yep. For microbials, it takes 72 hours. There's no way around that to do a proper test. But for other like potency, you can do it in 24 or 48 hours, certainly. Yep.
Okay. Jeff Hagan, CEO of ABKOLabs.com. And I know them really, really well. So I would recommend anybody in the business to at least check them out.